I'm running out of ideas for videos. So you know what that means? It means it's time to milk one of these videos again. Another top 10 list. So obviously, the Nintendo Switch here has a lot of games for the system. Has a lot of third-party games. Some that are bad, some that are really good. And as the list continues to grow for the Nintendo Switch, that means there is way more third-party games to talk about. So I decided to make a second list of the top 10 best third-party games, since you guys apparently really love the first part, as it's one of my most popular videos of all time. So let's dig right into the list, talk about all these great new Nintendo Switch games that I've added to the list. Now, I will say that the first list is still just as great as the second list. It's just an additional list since, you know, there's more third-party games than just what I talked about in the other list. I mean, there's still even more great third-party games to talk about that aren't even mentioned in this video. So if you guys want to see a third part in a few months, let me know in the comments down below. Alright, so starting off this list, I do want to say I haven't had the chance to play too much of this game, but with everything that's happening with the Nintendo Switch OLED right now, this game is perfect for the Nintendo Switch OLED. And that's Ori and the Blind Forest. This is one of those games that is one of the most original, most peaceful games that I've played in a very long time. Granted, I'm in the very early stages of the game still, I just haven't had a chance to go back and play it, but it really makes me feel like I'm playing a Pixar movie, if that makes sense. The art style is one of the most beautiful things I've seen in a video game, and on the Nintendo Switch OLED, playing it in handheld mode is even more beautiful because of how the game is. Ori and the Blind Forest runs great on the Nintendo Switch. It's an Xbox property on Nintendo Switch. You can't really complain. It's another huge Nintendo Switch game to have on the already growing Nintendo Switch library. Now, I will say, there's really nothing wrong with the Nintendo Switch version of Ori and the Blind Forest. The only thing that I guess you could complain about is the price point of the game, at least physically. Physically, it's a pretty expensive game. For some reason, you have to pay double the price for a physical copy if you want it physically. If you want it digital, all you have to pay is 20 bucks. So if you're a physical guy, just keep in mind, if you want a physical copy of this game, you do have to pay double the price. Alright, coming in number 9 is going to be probably a little bit of a hot take one, but just hear me out. Let's get through it before you guys automatically are like, that's a weird pick, Max. So coming in number 9 is Dead by Daylight. Listen, this game does not look great on the Nintendo Switch, but it certainly runs great. If you want a great online multiplayer game for your Nintendo Switch, then Dead by Daylight is the perfect game for you and your friends. So if you're a fan of the horror genre, then this game is also perfect for you, because this game has literally every horror franchise you can think of except Friday the 13th. I know someone's gonna point that out. But you got Freddy Krueger, you got some of the things from Saw in it, you got some of Evil Dead references in it, you got literally Halloween, you got maps from Stranger Things, you have so much horror genre in here. I think they just put Pinhead in the game, and that means they're still going to add more and more horror references to the game. I mean, Left 4 Dead, that's in this game, that's awesome. But just in general, without all that crossover content, this game is super fun. It's a very fun multiplayer online game only that is just perfect because you're trying to escape the killer and you have to go through all these generators, making the generators fix to work so you can open the gate to escape. This game is perfect. And like I said, the graphics are not great, and you're gonna see that in the gameplay that I'm showing you. So, you know, graphically, if you can get like that out of your head, this game runs perfect, because I've seen no frame rate drops when I play the Dead by Daylight on the Nintendo Switch. And a game like that to run with no frame rate drops is pretty amazing. It also has crossplay, and you really can't do wrong with crossplay. So if you have the Switch version, you can play with your PlayStation, PC, Xbox, all those guys. Alright, coming in number 8 is going to be Nickelodeon AllStar Brawl. Now, I'm not going to talk about too much of this right now because I made a review for the game. Go watch that review. A lot of people didn't watch it. But this game, if you're a Smash Bros. Player, you'll enjoy it. There is issues with Nickelodeon AllStar Brawl, but if you can find this game for the right price, which I'm pretty sure it's going on sale for 20 bucks during Black Friday, then this is well worth it, because Even for $20, you can have a lot of fun with this game. I'm having a lot of fun playing this game. And you know, I think this game has potential to grow into something really big. It's already really big, but with the issues people are talking about, it seems like the developers care. And if you're a Smash Bros. Player, again, this is another great fighting game to have with your Nintendo Switch. Coming in number 7 is Persona 5 Strikers. Now, if you're like me, you're wondering, where is Persona 5 on the Nintendo Switch? When this game was finally announced, it almost seemed like Persona 5 was for sure coming to the Nintendo Switch down the road, especially since Persona 5 Strikers is a sequel to Persona 5. So it's very confusing that Sega and Atlus was like, yeah, we'll have Persona 5 Strikers on the Nintendo Switch. But it's a great game to have on the Nintendo Switch. You got a 50+ hour game on you that you can take on the go. Any games that are that long is great to have on the Switch, because some of them are way too long. Because, I mean, Persona 5, the base Persona 5, it took me almost 100 hours to beat that game. So having that on the Switch would definitely be more beneficial, because not everyone's going to be home to play the PlayStation 4. Anyways, Persona 5 Strikers is a great game. It's basically, what I describe it, is Dynasty Warriors, but Persona. Now, what I mean by that is that the battle system is Dynasty Warriors, but the actual gameplay is where you're exploring the palaces like normal that you would do. Everything still is like Persona 5 gameplay, it's just the battling system is Dynasty Warriors. The game runs really good. I've had some issues with the frame rates, but this actually runs better than Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. Yes, I know that's going to be a shocker for some people, but this game runs better than that game, which is funny, and the game still looks great on the Switch. Alright, coming in number 6 is going to be No More Heroes. Alright, so this year I had the great opportunity of going ahead and finishing No More Heroes 1. And I gotta say, this was a little bit, not necessarily a different game for me. It was just something that really reminded me of playing some of the older games that I played as a kid. And that's gonna be a very weird comparison, since this game is definitely not for kids. This game is definitely more on the mature side, but the game is awesome. The gameplay really reminds me of some of those older games that I played as a kid. Like, it reminds me, this is a weird comparison. This is probably going to be the weirdest comparison of the No More Heroes game for me. This game felt like I was playing a mature Nickelodeon game. If you guys know how those games, the older Nickelodeon games, how they were with the gameplay, those games were awesome with the gameplay. And No More Heroes to me reminds me like a updated gameplay version of a Nickelodeon game, not to mention the characters and the humor that's inside of No More Heroes. It's a great game overall. It's an interesting story, and it makes fun of a lot of other things that I think is awesome in terms of, you know, how other parodies and stuff like that. Like the credits is actually a reference to Star Wars, which I thought was awesome. I haven't had a chance to play No More Heroes 2 or 3 or even Travis Strikes Back again, but it's definitely on the list after completing No More Heroes 1. So coming in number 5 is one that I think is super exciting, and if you guys have not played it yet, you definitely should, and that's the Ace Attorney Trilogy. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be confused by why I have a Japan copy of the game. It's because the game never released physically here in America. Everywhere else had a physical copy except us, which was really weird. But this game is digitally only on the Nintendo Switch here in America. And the game is super cheap sometimes. I think I've seen it go on sale for like $12 at one point. But you get 3 games in one. My best way to describe it is you're a lawyer or an attorney, and you get to defend your clients. The game has some interesting stories that are put into each game, and one of my favorites, honestly, is the first game, because the 4th case in that game, it gets absolutely crazy. It's nothing graphically amazing, it's just the story is very interesting. You get your eyes glued to it very fast. And the gameplay, it's nothing special, it's just the story that you're into. The game isn't for everyone, but I would highly, highly, highly recommend you give it a try if you can find the right price for it. Coming in number 4 is Super Bomberman R. So this is actually the second Nintendo Switch game I've ever owned. Now, I will say, this game isn't for you if you're just somebody playing by yourself. This is one of those party games, and this game is probably one of the best party Nintendo Switch games. I've had so much fun bringing this game over to places, and people that don't even care about video games that much have played this game and told me, wow Max, this is a really fun game. So Bomberman R is something very special, and I don't know how to describe it because I know the gameplay, it's gonna look boring, but I'm telling you, if you play this game with friends, it's absolutely amazing. It has online, but I'll be honest with you, you're not gonna find a lobby unless you're playing with friends online. The community for this game is pretty dead, as it was a launch title for the Nintendo Switch, and I don't think many people bought the game. But actually, now that I'm thinking about it, there's like a free online Bomberman R game, I think, that came out earlier this year. So listen, play the game, it's really worth it. I don't know how much it is now. I think I see it for about $20. $20 is well worth it if you have a bunch of friends. I'm telling you, you will have so much fun with this game. I don't know how much to say, like what I need to say about this game, because I'm trying to make it not sound boring, and it's just an amazing game. Go buy it. Coming in number 3 is Hades. Now, this game probably should be higher on my list, but I get too irritated of dying on this game that I rage quit way too fast every time I play this game. This game is very fun, but very annoying at times. This is a rogue game. In case you guys don't know what a rogue game is, if you die, you have to start all the way back. Doesn't matter how far you got, no saving, none of that. You have to start all the way back. It's a very fun game. The voice acting is probably one of the coolest things that I've ever seen with a game that has voice acting. Its art style is also something very incredible. It looks graphically amazing. It looks graphically amazing on any platform, especially with the Switch OLED screen. That game looks beautiful on the Switch OLED screen. The game runs great, just everything about this game is great. Now, if you can get past the part that it's being a rogue game, then you will have a lot of fun with this game. I mean, if you consider that it's a rogue game, you have a lot of content within you, because it's going to take you a while to beat this game. You're not supposed to beat it in the first try or the second try. You're supposed to die a lot of times to get used to what's coming at you. So if you get this game, you're probably looking about a 30-hour game, especially, and no spoilers, but you know what I'm talking about to those that played the game. You got a lot to play. So if you buy the game, you'll have a lot of fun with it, and the price for it digitally is like $20. The physical copy is a little bit more expensive, which it is an indie game, and I know that the indie game companies have to spend a lot of money for cartridges, so I'm not going to complain there. It's probably one of the best Nintendo Switch games out there in general. I just don't play it enough because every time I die, I get so mad and I don't want to play the game for a few months. So, yeah, it's well worth it though. Coming in number 2 is Monster Hunter Rise. Now, this is one of those games that is probably going to be nominated as Game of the Year for this year, 2021. And it was definitely a very fun game that Capcom released earlier this year. I think it was one of those games that it kind of shocked people, like how much of people was actually playing it, because I felt like when this game came out, I saw literally everyone play it, and actually, fun fact, it's the best-selling third-party Nintendo Switch game, by a lot actually. The second best-selling Nintendo Switch game in terms of third-party was 2 million copies. Monster Hunter Rise, I'm pretty sure, has done over 5 million copies. So this game is extremely popular. Not to mention that Monster Hunter Rise is getting updates constantly, with now DLC expansions coming later next year. This game has a lot of content in it. It's also a very fun online multiplayer game if you're into online at all. I also did a whole review of this game, which you should go check out because there's a funny skit in that video. But anyways, I'm not going to talk too much about this game since I have a whole review about it. Go check it out. Now, our number 1 third-party Switch game in our second list. I feel like everyone forgets about this being a third-party game because I forgot it was a third-party game. And this game should have been included in my last list that I made of the top 10 best Nintendo Switch third-party games, and it wasn't. And now that I'm realizing it wasn't, I was really upset, but it's okay. This game is the best Nintendo Switch game of all time in terms of third-party. And that game is Mario Rabbids Kingdom Battle. Yes, I know automatically people are going to be like, what? Mario? No, this Nintendo didn't develop this. It was Ubisoft. I think a lot of people get that mixed up. Ubisoft fully developed this game. Just like they're fully developing the sequel of Mario and Rabbids that's coming out later this year. This game is one of those games that you expect to be absolute garbage, because when you think of crossovers with Mario, I'm pretty sure no one in their right mind is like thinking, hey, you know what we should make a game of? Rabbids and Mario. That's the perfect crossover. I'll be honest with you. They match perfect. The crossover really makes sense if you play the game. You would not think it makes sense, and you would think that it just doesn't work, but with how the gameplay works and how everything about how Mario Rabbids is, this is definitely a really good game. Not to mention, there is some co-op stuff in there if you guys have multiplayer. Not to mention, this game has a pretty decently long story mode, which is about 15 hours. This game is very well worth it. It's a very fun game. Not to mention, it runs, looks amazing. It also has DLC. If you're a Donkey Kong fan, there's a whole Donkey Kong DLC mode in the game where I think it's actually story mode. I didn't play the DLC, but that's there. There's a lot of content in this game, and it's a lot of people's favorite Nintendo game. If you can just get past the part that the Rabbids are in it, because I know way too many people that did not play this game because the Rabbids are in it, you'll have so much fun. Just get past the Rabbids part. Listen, trust me, it's a great game. Just get past the Rabbids part. You'll have so much fun with the game. Well, guys, that's my second list of my top 10 best Nintendo Switch third-party games. I would like to know what you guys think. What is your favorite third-party Nintendo Switch game? Do you own any of the games that we talked about today? Just let me know your thoughts on everything we talked about, if my list was great, and if you're wondering why certain topics aren't in the list, it's probably in the first list, so go check out that first list. Well, guys, I have been talking for way too much. I definitely want to know your list in the comments down below. Make sure to backslash that subscribe button, like the video, check out my Discord server, also check out my Twitter, which all of that is in the description below, and also check out the podcast that I'm a part of. All of that, literally every single thing that I just talked about, is in the description below. I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.